we're very, very interested in keeping the bliss. That's why we're here. I don't know about you guys. But being up here ensures for us, from our side, it ensures that we actually get to keep the bliss. So you're not going to learn how to keep the bliss by sitting in here and listening to us, actually. Actually, that's not how you will get to keep the bliss. But you will get to keep the bliss if you try some of the stuff that we've been through, and if it works for you, and then you tell somebody else about it, then you'll get to keep the bliss. That's the moment that you will also get to keep the bliss. So we don't really have anything to say about how to keep the bliss other than to tell you that we are just here to keep the bliss. And that will become clearer, I think, as the episodes go by. I think Roger wants to start with a meditation. No? I'm good. Yeah.
I think it's a really, somebody just said to me a few minutes ago, this is a really important topic for me, and maybe for everybody, you know, or for a lot of people, it's extremely relevant to talk about partnerships. So I personally feel that you know, one of the only reasons that I can sit up here and talk about it is because you know, Yvonne and I have been in a long relationship and definitely had our ups and downs, and like everybody else, you know, we've had our high points and our low points, and so, you know, we've been sort of bumbling along with that, and then we hit the long retreat and we bumbled some more, and things, you know, we hit a couple of pretty big speed bumps in the retreat, and it was a really unbelievable way to ripen karma for us and to accelerate what we had learned and what we were learning, and you know, to look at our mistakes and so forth in a very candid way. Retreat does that, and it sort of strips everything away, and you get to face the real you, or you think is the real you, and all these different things that happen to you and with your partner and so forth. And so it's a really heightened environment, an accelerated environment in which to practice with your partner. I guess you could put it like that. It's a very intense, condensed, high octane environment, and in that sense, I feel comfortable to sit up here and talk about partner practice a little bit, because we went through that. It feels, you know, like maybe if there's something that we share that resonates with you, that makes sense, or that is useful, then I think that that's the goal of whatever we do tonight. You know, if there's something that you can hang on to, that's all really. That's all we can do.
And plus our teacher asked us to.
One of our teachers asked us to teach partner series, and so, you know, we're very honoured to do that and to fulfill that for them. It's a very old practice. It extends back for millennia, really, and it's deeply imbued in most of the religious portals, and So to make it sort of accessible and to bring it out of esoteric and into real life is another one of our goals. You know, how can it be applicable to us in our everyday lives, right? And how can we use it, and can it be useful to us? You know, and what is the real purpose of it, and what's the point of keeping the bliss anyway? You know, so those are the kinds of things that we just want to go over a little bit tonight. So we thought that we would just start with a very brief, basically more like a visualization than a meditation. So if you could just be with us here now for, you know, literally a few minutes, and we'll just lead you through a very short little visualization. So just be comfortable where you are. And I think, you know, one of the most important things about meditation is just to really have good posture. So try to align your back so that it's perfectly straight, and that you don't even have any little, what I call micro slumps in it, you know, where it's just giving way somewhere. Just get it nice and straight, and relax your shoulders, and hands just resting on your lap or on your knees. And tongue is resting lightly on the roof of your mouth. And then just a quick scan through your body. Do you have any areas of tension? Anything that's you're sort of holding? Just be aware of that, and try to release that with your mind. Let the day fall away. And the busyness, let it all just slip away. And now see yourself as this perfect outline of light. Now you don't have a gross physical body so much anymore. And you're sort of a diamond light on the outside, and inside you're just hollow. You're just spacious. You can even put some like blue sky inside of you now, if you like. So you're just this beautiful empty shell. A feeling of availability, spaciousness, open. And bring your mind to your Ajna chakra, or what's sometimes called the third eye, at the midpoint in between your eyebrows, back in maybe about perhaps an inch or so inside. Try to be aware of any tension that you might have as you bring your mind to that point. You know, make sure that you're not furrowing your brow. Just nice, relaxed in the face. And then we're just going to do a simple breathing exercise now. So this is called Amaloma Vimala, and basically what it is we're going to inhale breath up through the left nostril, and it's going to come up and strike the Ajna chakra. It's like the apex of a triangle with the Ajna at the apex. And then you're going to exhale from the Ajna down out through the right side nostril. So you can do that now. just very gently, even if you're just thinking about inhaling, directing the prana up through the left, strikes the Ajna chakra with a sort of a light, exhaling out through the right. Now inhaling up through the right, light strikes the Ajna chakra, exhaling down through the left side nostril. Inhaling up through the left, exhaling down through the right, inhaling up through the right, exhaling down through the left. One more round, inhaling up through the left, light strikes the Ajna, exhaling down through the right, inhaling up through the right to Ajna, exhaling down through the left. And now we'll switch it up a little bit. We'll inhale through both nostrils simultaneously and light will strike the Ajna. So go ahead and do that. And then we'll exhale out through both nostrils from the Ajna straight out and down again. Again, inhaling up. Exhaling out through both nostrils. One more time. And then you can just relax and see if you can feel any movement of energy in that area. Have you woken up your Ajna a little bit? How is it feeling? Maybe you have like a little heat or perhaps even a pulsing sensation, something like that. Or even just, I would say even just an awareness. And then you can just relax and slowly open your eyes. So it's when you talk about partner practice and you do partner practice and all of its many manifestations and forms that takes, it's really good to have discrimination. And awakening the Ajna chakra directly has an influence on your powers of discrimination. And so that becomes very useful, so that you know what to take up and what to give up. And you have hopefully a little bit of ability to discern, you know, what is the right thing to do at the right time, right? And that's important when you work with your partner. So it's recommended to do a lot of Ajna practices. That was just a little taste of one of them, and especially in the Indian side of the lineage, which we did a lot of in retreat, so that you can really wake that up and hopefully have that ability to discriminate. So that's a little snapshot of Amalama Vimala. Amalama Vimala. Anuloma Vimala. Pardon.
I don't know what it is now.
Anuloma Viloma. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't speak so well anymore as we used to.
Oh, do we need a whiteboard, right?
Yeah, we need a whiteboard.
Do we have a whiteboard? That would be wonderful.
Anuloma Viloma. So actually, Anuloma Viloma is homework for those of you who are here. And because it's very, very important, as Lama Roger just said, we don't call him Lama Roger unless you are a direct student of his. But it's very important to do this practice of developing an awareness of your Ajna chakra, because as Roger said, it's very instrumental in being able to exercise discriminating wisdom. And this particular series that we've been asked to share with you, Keeping the Bliss, has roots in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the yogic science lineage of India. And in the yogic science lineage of India, all of these practices are based on the subtle body, on the inner body. And we're going to do this. We're going to make our way through the chakra system in quite a lot of detail and intensity. And before we start with the lower chakras, we need to develop a high awareness of discriminating wisdom. So the first thing that we need to do is to be able to exercise this discriminating wisdom. And when you do that kind of ajna practice, and when you do breath, when you do pranayamas and breathing exercises to try to develop the ajna chakra, and when Roger says inhale light towards the Agnya chakra, see if you can, as though it's actually the Agnya chakra that's sucking in the light, sucking in the ray of light, and then exhaling it back out and then sucking it in, so that it pinpoints the chakra a little bit more specifically. And so, as we move through the episodes, this will become apparent why this is important. Okay? So, does everybody have a handout, or are there not enough? Or what? Who doesn't have? Oh, okay. Okay. So, I can read that. And where's my whiteboard? Understand. Let's read the scriptural verse first. Understand. It comes from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the book on the union of sun and moon. And it says, "Stay then, more deep than deep, at the very core of truth, in the middle of the sun and moon. When you remain there, in that blessed point of empty space, you have reached what we call the dancer in the sky. A stream of crystal moonlight begins to flow, wife of the man of peace, and he embraces her. She fills the sun ray channel, the opening along the spine, with matchless divine nectar." This verse is talking about Sushumna and bringing the prana into Sushumna and applying what's called Kachari Mudra, which induces the Amrit to flow down from the crown of the head. And this is it's a very advanced practice, and these scriptures we took directly from the teachings of our teachers. Our commentary is kind of like a little different, but the scriptures just are the scriptures from the original Spiritual Partners series. And it's a very interesting verse to start with. It's a very, very sexy verse, and it's a very advanced practice, a verse from the advanced practice in Hatha Yoga.
It's 20 hours.
Huh? What? What was that?
Just declare time.
Can I ignore it? So, understand why we're attracted. Understand why we're attracted is the first principle that we want to talk about. So, Roger and I met 23 years ago? 23 years ago in the, what was it?
Longhorn.
The Longhorn Pub. The Longhorn Pub at Whistler. And this pub, to this day, is owned by Dee Dee's sister and brother-in-law. This is a very interesting thing. How does that work? We didn't know her till quite a few years later, like about 15 years later, maybe. So we met at the Longhorn Pub, you know, we were ski bums, and we were drinking in the pub, and that's where we met. And we were instantly attracted to one another. And since then, we've broken up 3 times. And, you know, you can see that we're together right now. And in the meantime, we did this long retreat, which is really, it's a very, it really rakes you over the coals of a lot of different things, including the relationship. You know, it really, really rakes you over the coals. And you're always at the coalface in a retreat. And the reason that you're always at the coalface in a retreat is because there's nobody there. There's nothing going on. And our favorite flavor of samsara, right? If you had to say which is a really, really prominent flavor of samsara, what's a really prominent flavor of samsara that just about everybody probably of us, you know, everybody can relate to? You'd have to say it's the one that goes, how could they do this to me? How could this happen to me? That's a really prominent flavor. Lots of us have that one for a favorite, right? I do anyway. So, in retreat, see, there's no one there, right? And then, even though both of us were there, we spent about 6 or 8 months doing solo retreat. So actually, during the really intense part of the retreat, nobody was there. You know, I was completely by myself. Roger was completely by himself. And you keep on getting raked over the coals, and it's like, how can they do this to me? Well, who exactly is doing what to you, you know? And this keeps like happening again and again and again like this. Until you finally have to think, well, what's going on here? What's going on here? So it was kind of an express way to try to get to the bottom of it, right? And I remember for about 2 months in the middle of the retreat, I thought, oh, well, I'm going to have to trash them when we're done. You know, I won't leave now. It's just like weird, right? Who's going to like, I don't know, what if something happens? But at the end of the retreat, that's it, I'm out. No, really, I spent about 2 months on that tack, you know, and then all kinds of different tacks like that, different flavors of that theme. But so then I started to realize that I started to say to myself, try to understand what's at the bottom of this. Like, what am I hoping to achieve exactly, right? Why? What do I want? What do I want? And why is this particular method going to get it for me? You see? And, you know, I had to say to myself, well, what do I want, you know? He wasn't, like, even around to be bugging me in any way. You know, he had done so in the past 20 years, of course. Lots of times. You know, I had lots and lots of ammunition and stuff like that. But in that time, by myself, as I looked at this, and I thought, what do you want? Like, what do you really want? And when I became very clear about what it was I wanted, it also became very clear to me that trashing him before, during, after the retreat wasn't necessarily going to get it for me, what I wanted. So I had to understand how it was that I was going to get all my winds into the central channel, which is really the only way that you can truly understand how to get what you want. And so I devoted a lot of intense practice to this question, what do I want? And how do I suppose I'm going to get it? And as you know, we were doing lots and lots of Hatha Yoga Pradipika practice, which is designed to get the Sushumna filled up with prana and to eliminate the 2 side channels, which is really the only way to understand what you want. I'll say it again and again and again, okay? Because it's really important to understand this concept. So I devoted a lot of intense practice to bringing my prana into the central channel. And, while I was hashing out the shit list, you might have to censor the audio. So, I had the shit list and then I had the good list, right? And you really have to stay focused on the good list, right, in life. If you hope to achieve any kind of bliss, you have to try to stay away from making shit lists. I can tell you that much for sure. And I came to understand a little bit more clearly that every other method I'd ever used to try to get what I want in a relationship actually hadn't worked, and that it was just, the same old beep on a different day, with a different guy, really, is what it was. And it was going to continue to look that way. That became really clear to me. So trashing him at the end of the retreat would probably simply succeed in having a very, very disconnected, dysfunctional end to the retreat, and then wouldn't get me any closer to what it is that I wanted. And I think I'm going to say what I think I want, okay? I'm going to say what I think I want. Because meanwhile, as you do other practices to get your prana into the correct area of the central channel, that question in your mind, what do I really want, also undergoes some great, great shifts, some major, major shifts. And it's kind of like what's on the Three Jewels homepage. Just a sec, okay? I wrote it down. It says, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself you have built against love. So, and as you do, as you search for love and as you search to keep bliss in your own relationship, and as you try different things, it becomes very clear that the more you take action towards making yourself happy, the less you are happy. And the more action you take towards making others happy, the happier you are. So does that mean that I'm supposed to stay with somebody who's hurting me? Maybe physically or emotionally. Somebody who's torturing me or just appears to be doing things that are extremely hurtful. Am I supposed to hang out and just try to make them happy? How shall I answer that question? Well, let me answer it simply, first of all. The simple answer is no, you shouldn't. You should not stay in a hurtful situation where you are really suffering, emotionally, physically. You should not. You should remove yourself from that situation. You should work to create the karma, not to have that kind of stuff happen to you, of course. But you have to remove yourself from that situation if you're in pain, suffering like that. That's the simple answer, okay? The not so simple answer is that the real question is not, what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go, right? That's, a diamond deal. You probably know what a diamond deal is. The real question is, how do I create the karma to not experience that as pain? So that whatever is going on, it's not appearing that way to me. I'm not affected by it. Perhaps somebody is beating me. Perhaps somebody is gouging out my eyeballs. Perhaps somebody is deceiving me, lying to me, having, major multiple affairs behind my back. Maybe these things are going on, but my concern is for the perpetrator of the crime. Those are two very different questions. The first one is very simple, the second one is not. But I give it to you anyway, because it's where we're all going, right? Because until you understand that the question is, what do you do for this person who is inflicting this pain on you, which you may not be experiencing as pain? And the only pain you're experiencing is the fact that they're also inflicting a lot of pain on themselves by doing things like that. So when your concern can shift to the perpetrator, this is the key to happiness. Not just with that person, but with all people, with all beings, So, it's really important to understand why things are appearing the way that they are, in our lives, in our partners and stuff like that. And we're going to be going there a lot in the upcoming episodes of this show. But for now, the important thing to understand is that we're attracted to a partner. Doesn't matter, same sex, opposite sex, multiple sexes, doesn't matter. We're attracted because we have this very deep desire to be happy, right? To get out of pain and be happy, right? And there's some kind of magical thing, isn't there? Some kind of magical ingredient in like a partner. The attraction of a partner is really, really strong, right? It's really strong. The attraction of sex and the attraction of food are the strongest two attractions that we have. You don't want to get between an animal and its kill, You don't want to get between a man and his orgasm, You don't. These are, these kinds of things are so hardwired in us that they're very powerful. They're very powerful urges. And we need to understand them and what they are in order to be able to exercise our discriminating wisdom and use them in a way which allows us to see people who appear to inflict pain on us as people who need our love, What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Right? There's a lot of understanding that has to go on somewhere in there. And this desire to be whole with someone, is so deep, and it's triggered by, it's always triggered by a chemistry which we know as sexual desire. We know that kind of rush, that chemistry as sexual desire. That's what we call it, right? And notice that in the first few months of a relationship, right, that rush is always accompanied by, what can I do for this person? What do they like? What kind of food do they like, Would they like to do this particular thing or go to that place? How can I please them? What can I do for them? And usually it goes on for about 4 or 5 or 6 months, or sometimes it's a couple of years. But generally, always, it kind of goes, is that thing you do all the time? It peters out usually, right? Anybody in here say not? Anybody in here say no, it doesn't peter out? I bet there are 1 or 2 in here who debate me on that. Anybody want to debate me? Wow, okay. So it peters out. And generally, the time that it peters out is around the time that you start saying, what about me? Well, what about me? And I, and I, right? It's usually right around that time. So there's no accident there, you know? There's no accident there at all. So that's kind of a cool thing to remember, something about that time of great chemistry, something about that time of huge rush, that, oh, what kind of thoughts were accompanying those feelings, you know? What kind of thoughts? See, when you're having those kinds of feelings, those kinds of rushes, what's going on is that you've got prana going into the central channel quite a lot, is what's going on. So feeling good and feeling blissful and feeling loving and feeling like being there for other people, these kinds of thoughts come when you have prana going into the central channel. That's when they come. And you could also say that those kinds of thoughts cause a lot of prana to go into the central channel. So you can see that, you know, we could be working at this from two angles, right? At least. We could be working at this from those two angles. So it's good to understand that. It's good to understand that we're attracted to this thing, to this kind of practice, because it makes us feel blissful, because it makes us feel whole, because it makes us feel complete, because it makes us feel completely there, available, not needy. No, not needy. We don't need anything, right? You don't need anything when you're feeling like that. All you want to do is give. Isn't it true? It's all you want to do. There's no concern. And in fact, there's no problem. Like, you know, you don't sleep all night. There's no problem. You know what I mean? There's no food left. There's no problem. Isn't it true? It's some kind of intense pranic feed that you get. Right? So that's understand. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
So, by the way, this, you know, when we talk about this whole partner thing, that we're simply talking about energy, okay? You can call it male, masculine and feminine and so forth, and so it doesn't really, it's not limited like that. So, you know, if you happen to be a male and you're attracted to another male, you know, that's okay. That's not, it doesn't preclude you from somehow doing this partner practice. Do you see what I mean? It's completely about energy flows within people, and having a sense of what is the opposite energy that this person has that I maybe am a little bit short on. You know, so the way that our teachers describe it is, you know, if you're a female, you have a prevalence of female energy because you were born as a female, and so you're attracted to more male energy, but it might be with another female partner. Do you see what I mean? So there isn't anything that's precluded here. Okay, so we should be clear about that. And basically, again, you know, a partner practice can also be done, a lot of ordained people do it basically with themselves, and a sort of an imaginary partner is used. And that's a perfectly valid way to do a partner practice as well. We're not so much talking about that right now, but you should know, again, because we have male and female energy replete within each of us, that you can also work that from the inside as well, just by yourself, basically. And that's a perfectly beautiful and valid practice as well. But we're not really touching on that too much. So, understanding, I also just wanted to sort of, one point that really stuck in my mind from Yvonne's dissertation on that is like, I don't know, it's like, I think that we've all seen it a million times played out, not only in our own lives, but in everybody else's lives around us, right? Is this thing where she put her finger on it, you know, where it starts to turn, where it's like it's all about me, and it's this I'm not getting what I need, you're not giving me what I need to feel good anymore, you know, I need to go and find somebody else who can do that for me, right? That is the crucial point of misunderstanding right there, you know, and I think that we've all done it. We've all, what is it? We've all dumped and been dumped, right? To put it bluntly. You know, and it's true, right? And truly at the heart of that, I think, lies that crucial point, you know. You're not making me feel good the way that you used to, or, you know, you're not doing for me, you know, what you were at the beginning of the relationship, or something like that. And then we think, the mind turns and it thinks that it can get that somewhere else from someone else or something else, you see. And that's the crucial point of misunderstanding. So, you know, and then we keep trying, right? And we do this dumping and getting dumped shtick, and that goes on for years, perhaps decades, perhaps our whole lives. You know, and my personal experience is that those things, those issues and those karmas that you have with that person will simply carry forward into your next relationship. They may be more subtle, they may be slightly, have a different flavor, a different rasa, but underlying that, you will take that with you. And if you think that you can get something else from someone else out there, then you will keep on getting dumped and being dumped, you know, and dumping and getting dumped. It's just the way it is. It's just this whole dump thing, you know. And but it's true, and we've all been there. I mean, let's be honest, right? And I've done it so many times, and you know, it doesn't really work. I know that much for sure. We're on to the next part. We're going to read a little sutra here. This is from the Yoga Sutra. So I guess that's top of page 2. And we make a certain mistake in how we think about pairs. It looks to us as though the one who sees the world and the world that we see all come from their own side. So this is basically what they call like subject-object distinction or differentiation or something like that. It's where we think that somehow the subject state of mind, is looking at these objects, the world and the contents of the world and all the people in our lives and everything, and thinking that they have some inherent self-nature of their own, okay? And again, that is the crucial point, not only for the whole talk and discussion about a partnership, but about the whole of our lives, really, isn't it? Because we misunderstand the objects in the world and ourselves. We misunderstand subject and object. We believe that there is some inherency, some self-existent nature to them, and then we go ahead and we act on that, you see. And then, either it's an intense attraction because of our left side channel, or it's an intense anger or aversion from our right side channel. And then those things accrue karmas, which are associated with those thoughts and actions in our minds of intense desire and intense repulsion. And those things keep us spinning in the wheel of samsara, you see. And it's hardwired into every single person who's human, okay? The subject-object distinction is hardwired into every single person. It comes from the heart chakra, is the center, and then it splits off into 4 channels. And then those 4 channels split off again. And at that second junction, exactly there is where you get subject-object distinction, okay? And so you have it replete within you. It's what do you call it? Hardwired into your DNA practically, that you will be forced to see that in your world. So how are we going to get around that? So we wanted to talk about an idea right now called Nagyal. from the Tibetan. In the Sanskrit, this is called nyasa, and this is, you could say it is the imputation of divine elements onto your own body, something like that. It's a very ancient practice. Again, it goes back many thousands of years, and it gets quite detailed. It's a very beautiful, very powerful practice where they use different syllables and mantras and so forth. We're not going to go into that in any great detail tonight, but what we thought we would do is just give you an overview of Nagyal in a general sense, and how does that tie into subject-object discrepancies, and how am I seeing my world correctly or incorrectly, right? So Nagyal from the Tibetan lineage is literally translated as, like, you could say divine pride or something like that. Having a feeling that I am not this normal schmucky Joe, you know, kind of guy or gal, you know, just leading my normal life, you know, getting up every day, going to work, making the money so that I can pay my mortgage or my rent or whatever, and so that I can just get by, you know, and buy enough food to eat and this and that, you know, that's normal life, you see. That's not the full capacity of a human being. That's not what we're capable of. And so Nagyal is this beautiful idea of pretending and make-believing that we're not that normal person, and that we have some beautiful higher purpose, and that we are a being that can fulfill that higher purpose, you see. There's lots of ways that you can approach Nagyal. Like, you know, you can pretend or that you look like a divine being maybe, and that you dress maybe a little bit differently, something like that. Put on clothes that you wouldn't normally wear. I think that really, though, at its heart, Nagyal is more of a feeling than an outward appearance. You know, something like that. So, if I feel that I am not a normal person, and that I'm not fettered by this normal mundane life, and that I'm not, I use the wisdom and the understanding that Larry Vaughan was talking about to understand this whole idea of subjects and objects and how they're clashing, and how they're not really happening, and there isn't any real self-existence to them out there. When I start having thoughts like that in my mind, what happens is the prana, or the winds, that normally are running in the two side channels, start coming out of the side channels, and they start coalescing around a confluence point, which is where they flute into the Sushumna Nadi in lower chakras. And they start playing down there, and there's a sort of an intensity of pranic frequency that begins to happen when you start to re-identify and remap the way that you view and feel about yourself with this Nagyal, with this divine pride. You know, I'm here for a specific purpose, you know, and that, by that virtue alone, so where the thoughts go, the winds must go. This is a Tibetan concept called Lung Sem Jupa Chipa. Lung means wind, Sem means mind, Jupa Chipa means they ride together. Okay? So they must ride together. They're indivisible. So where you put the mind, the wind must follow. Where you put the wind, or the prana, the mind must follow. The two are inextricably intertwined. So when I have thoughts about Nagyal, when I have thoughts about the fact that maybe I am the kind of person that could become somebody who could help many people, okay? Maybe I can lift myself up out of this mundane life and this mundane normalness and become somebody truly extraordinary that could help and serve many people. Wind starts coalescing around the central channel, and perhaps even enters it a little bit, and you get thoughts of wisdom. Okay? when you get thoughts of wisdom, you transcend subject-object duality. Because that wisdom, that prana in the central channel, is running at a different frequency. It's running at a very, very high intensity compared to the wind that's in different other places in the body or in the side channels. So that's a very extraordinary and very beautiful practice, and it's a very powerful way to get over this thing, the one who sees the world and the world we see coming from their own side. You see what I mean? That's how you can do it, so simply and easily. You wake up in the morning, the first thought that you have, you just train your mind. You know, I'm not just normal old me getting out of my bed to go to my normal job to make the normal money to pay the normal lousy bills anymore. I'm not that, okay? I have this potential to be this ultimate being, and actually, oh, that's right, I just forgot. I'm already there. What am I talking about? You know, I am that being already. You know, and I do have that ultimate love for every living being. And then I begin my day. I step out of bed and I begin my day like that. Okay, that's Nagyal in a very general sense. So that alone, because of Lungsem Jupachipa, because wind and mind are inextricably intertwined, will have very profound effects on your subtle body. If you take that as a serious daily practice, and you try to recall it as much as you can throughout the day. Very simple thoughts, you know, there's nothing complicated about it. Then that is, the upside possibilities for that are very profound. It's an extraordinary practice. It's been around for many thousands of years. And it certainly has the ability to take you to a different place. Because frankly, you know, all of it is the world. I mean, that is an imputation of mind too. You know, the fact that I'm some kind of angelic being perhaps now, or am I just regular schmuck old me? Both of those two things are what we call projections from our mind. You see? And neither of them has any more or less substance than the other one. You know, am I just normal old me? Am I some kind of ultimate being? Or could I be some kind of ultimate being? Both of those two ideas are, again, just projections from our mind. And they're empty too. And so if you use them and you understand them with this wisdom, you know, that neither of them come from their own side, then you can use them and you can leverage it to get yourself on the road out of suffering. Because that is why we suffer. And whether it's a partnership that you're suffering in, or whether you have financial suffering, or whether you have health problems, or whether you have whatever, a million other flavors of samsara, that is the root right there. You know, subject-object duality, and the fact that we believe that things and our partners and this and that are all coming out there, and they're all coming at us. So this is one very simple, very beautiful practice that we can all do. You know, you wake up in the morning, your first thought is, you know, I have the possibility to be this incredible being. In fact, not only that, I already am that being. And you see yourself helping people. You see, maybe you just lie there in that beautiful place, right in the twilight between being fully awake consciousness and when you came out of your slumber, you know, and you can play with it there, and you can start to remap your mind. It's a very powerful time to do it, actually. And then as much as you can recall it throughout the day is very beautiful and very powerful for you. It will help you a lot, I think, to think like that. And so hopefully that gives a little bit of a taste of Nagyal. Did you have something about Nagyal? Maybe.
We'll do one more flavor, one more principle, and then we'll have a little break, okay? Can we have a little break? So, Nigel. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have one more thing to say with that. Rapping and rappers are so all over Nagyal. And for those of you that like or have heard a lot of rap music, I mean, from what I've heard, it's unbelievable. They just have this thing. They're like, I am the MFing bomb. I am it, baby. Like, you can't touch me. You know, I am hot. I'm already there, you know, and they've got like this wild jewelry on, and you know, the guys have got like these like 100 grand worth of jewelry on and stuff, and you know, no, I mean, really, I mean, take your cue from that. I mean, but again, it doesn't have to be so much outwardly manifested like that. It's a feeling in your heart, okay? I think at its core. So, but it's a nice thing to think about.
And what it does is it produces this very interesting effect of changing the hue of your whole world. When you imagine yourself like that, then the whole world and everybody and everything in it appears more and more and more to approach, you know, what you could call divine, right? And you know, I'm always saying to my friend Lada here, you know, she's always saying, oh God, you know, my daughter this and my son that and stuff like that, right? And I think in my mind when she says that, yeah, I know what you mean. You know, I have that too. You know, my sister this and my mother that and everything. And what I think when I've done my little shtick in the morning, you know, like I'm really hot. What I think is I'm really hot and that's great and I feel really, really good and that's wonderful. But how's my world looking? Because that's the acid test, okay? So if you do this practice really, really well and really purely and with great dedication, then you will see your world change. You will. And if you're not seeing your world change, then that's your report card, see? So your report card of how your I'm the bomb practice is going is how your world is looking. And when the people in your world are looking very, very blissful and angelic, then your I'm the bomb practice is, you got a star, a great big star, 100%. And if in your world people are looking a little bit, you know, if there's pain or there's suffering, you see people who are sick, you see people who are, you know, dying, then you've got a little work to do on your practice. Because when you, and it goes back to the understand section too, you know, it's that when you have these thoughts of being of service to your partner or to anybody in your life, and when you have thoughts that you are a being who can do that, you are a being who can do that, you are a being who does do that, those thoughts are creating the pranic concentration and the pranic frequency that make it so. And that's what they're talking about in Hatha Yoga Pradipika and texts like that when they say you can transmute the elemental structure of you. The elemental structure of your body and of your mind, you can transform those elements. That's what they're talking about, you see? So when you practice putting your mind pattern into a certain thing, it's like anything. It's like tennis, it's like piano, it's like anything. When you do something a certain number of times, and generally numbers around 3,500, you get good at it. So when you do this I'm the bomb practice, and you do it well, then you start acting that way. And as you start acting that way, your world starts looking that way. So just know that whatever is going on in your world is like a perfect report card. And then you might even start to wonder, you know, who it is out there that is so kindly showing you what you need to get a perfect score on your report card, right? So then, moving into the third principle, indestructible. Indestructible. The third principle says, get a real method to find them. Get a real method to find them. Get a real method to find who? Get a real method to find the partner of your dreams and keep the bliss with them forever, right? So again, from the Yoga Sutra, the verse reads, we must become as gardeners, and there will come a time when you are no longer tortured by the lie of two bad choices. Shall I dump him now, or shall I wait till the end of the retreat, you know? Or shall I, like, do the Australia trip with him first, you know? Maybe I should do the Australia trip with him first, right? I mean, how horrible. So, you know, like, 2 bad choices, 3 bad choices, you know, 4 bad choices, just multiple bad, useless choices that produce no good marks on my report card at all. My report card. So the real method to find them is the method that you've got to glue yourself to. The real method, the indestructible method. What is the indestructible method to find them? The indestructible method to find them is never to separate yourself from this way of the Lord, you know. You never separate yourself. You never allow anything to come between you and your God. Okay? You and your God. Whether that God is the first 6 months of your relationship, somehow you know the bliss. What's causing that bliss? What are you doing in that time? Maybe God is the I'm the bomb practice that you do in the morning. Never, ever, ever separate yourself from that. This is indestructible method. Hold on to this method. Never allow yourself to become separated from the things that work and make your report card a bright and shining star. Because this is how we get to garden. This is how we get to plant the seeds. This is the only way that we can use methods that really, really work to bring us bliss. And you know, there are many different methods which we will talk about that will find you a partner, and they will help you to keep your partner, and they will help you to stay happy with your partner, because this is the progression of this particular course, you know. How do I find someone? And once I find them, how do I keep them so that we're not doing the dumper dumpy, you know, lie, you know, to ourselves. And then how do I stay happy with them? Because, you know, you might find them and you might keep them, and then, you know, eventually it becomes like a really convenient situation, and there's like this, the 2-income stream, you know, and then you've like bought the house, you know, and then you have a couple of kids or something like that, and then it's like, well, you know, am I really happy? Well, it doesn't really matter, because, you know, we've got this thing going on and it's convenient, you know, and I can't reach the light bulbs and like whatever, you know what I mean? And so then it becomes like a relationship which is sort of, it goes back to being mundane, and everybody's lost, you know, the bomb. Everybody's lost the bomb. And that's not what we're talking about either. That's not what we're talking about. Because then you have to somehow stay happy with each other. Genuinely happy, right? Like joyfully, genuinely happy. You wake up in the morning and you're like, you know.
Every morning.
Every morning, like, yay! You know, somehow the karma lasted the night, you know? Oh, there it is. That's the trick, isn't it? Somehow the karma lasted the night. That is the way it is. Somehow the karma lasted the night. You know, as long as you're living on that somehow the karma lasted the night tightrope, right? As long as you're living on that tightrope, the karma won't last. It's not somehow the karma lasted the night, it's how did the karma last the night? How did the karma last the night? Because if you can't figure that out, if we don't figure that out, it's not. The rope is going to... The rope is going to snap. The rope is going to snap. And the karma ain't going to last the night. So you have to find a real method, and you have to stay, it has to be indestructible, and you have to hold to it.